Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hi there.
It has been, again, a long time since we've been together.
We've not been doing too well with attendance, and that's okay. That's okay.
We're still getting pods out every week.
We are,
like
every week.
You can count on us. We're still doing it. It's just...
We're like a Swiss watch, baby.
We really, really are. I have been listening to some different podcasts lately. I don't know. I'm a big true crime girly, but lately I've been getting into Vulgar History, the pod. I don't know if anyone has heard of it or if any listeners also listen to Vulgar History, but it's a very feminist take on history, and it's all like women in history. So I actually just listened to a 2-part podcast on Peggy Shippen, who was Benedict Arnold's wife. And it was fascinating because the host, her name is Anne Foster, and she's very funny. Like, she's like, Peggy Shippen was having her like brat Revolutionary era summer. She's tits out in her dress. Like, it's just the language, the modern, I always love modern language with like historical, like context. It's my favorite. So anyway, I'm really enjoying it. So just wanted to throw that out there. If anyone is loves like badass women in history with some humor, Vulgar History. And
that sounds fun.
Non-sponsored. Okay. Anne Foster does not know who I am. It's just as I'm power walking with my vest in the mornings, I also listened to a podcast on Boudica that's the warrior queen, not kind of from old-timey England. So,
did you get a heavier vest?
I did, but it didn't.
I heard you were upgrading. Okay.
But I got wrist weights today. So tomorrow I'm going to be
Your
power
kids
walking.
must love this look.
They're so embarrassed. And my heavier vest is teal, bright teal. It's coming next week and they are going to be appalled. But you know what? I don't really care. I don't care. So let's get into it today because we have a lot to cover. And let me just say right now, this podcast, I'm taking credit because it was my idea and I'm really excited about it. Of course, Amy and Leah are good sports and they're like, yes, let's do it. So basically, if you're listening, happy Halloween. So this podcast, I think, is going to come out on the 30th. So enjoy your holiday.
Spooky season.
So we started this podcast in 2021. So this is our 4th Halloween podcast, which is wild. For the holiday in the past, we have covered Zombie Detective and All of Us Are Dead. And then the one year we just didn't acknowledge Halloween. I don't know what we were doing. But that's okay.
Was it our first year? Like, where we didn't really know? Oh, was it?
I think our first year was Zombie Detective. Yeah, I think it was last year we didn't do anything. But that would have been, I don't know. But the one year when I was looking back through our episodes, I couldn't find the one year we apparently skipped it.
I would say I'm sure Leah has banished Zombie Detective from her memory anyway.
That's so funny.
Fighting the bull.
Yeah, the bull.
Wild boar.
Sorry, the boar.
We don't talk about that enough. We really should be bringing up the boar scene more often. Anyway, so today we're going to go a little broader and have fun with monsters. So K-drama has its share of old favorites like vampires and zombies, as well as new creative monsters in dramas like Sweet Home and Gyeongsang Creature, and who can forget intern Imugi? While we could classify a dreamboat Gumio as a monster who eats livers, we are going to try to remain on this like Halloween task and kind of talk about like the actual monsters who tend to be the antagonists in the story. So I found an article written by Leo Brody, who is a professor at, drumroll for Leah, USC. Because, right, you're USC. No?
It's a completely different. USC is University of Southern California, which is a private.
But I thought you were USC SC. I thought you were
UC Santa Cruz.
University of California, public institution, Santa Cruz. University of California, University of Southern California is a.
All right.
USC is the whole Lori Loughlin.
I thought you were a satellite.
Isn't it?
No. So USC essentially is a university, and I work at a university, and they're both based in California. So there you go.
No, I thought
no relation.
I thought you were like a satellite office for USC. You know, like Penn State has like several satellite campuses. So I thought like there's a Penn State Altoona, which is not.
We don't have like a main
campus.
There's like Berkeley is famous, UCLA is famous, but you know, we're not a satellite.
Okay, whatever. Yeah, I thought you were. I did actually think you were a satellite.
How dare you?
This whole time,
because of your internet, I assumed you were a satellite.
I will be honest. This entire time, I thought you were a satellite campus of USC. This entire time.
Well,
I did not.
So sorry.
That's going to come as a surprise to the students.
I'm sorry. I care about you. I don't know how.
You're not a Jesuit university.
Okay, whatever.
All right.
Well, anyway, Leo Braudy works for USC, and he is the holder of the Leo S. Bing Chair in English and American Literature. So I don't know what that means, but it sounds fancy. He says, quote, children love fairy tales for the same reasons we all love frightening stories, because they allow us a kind of mastery, he said. Quote, they're comforting, but also titillating, certainly for adults. It's that idea of you escaped, end quote. So, first of all, do you like monsters in your entertainment? And does it give you like a thrill or a feeling of mastery?
So I will say that while I am not a fan of gore or horror in general, which should come as no surprise to anybody, I do like monster jump scares in my entertainment. Like going off of the comforting but titillating. I don't think I've ever like used titillating on my own.
I know, right?
Ever in my life. So it feels very weird rolling off the tongue.
Yeah.
So going off of Professor Braudy, who is not from Santa Cruz, going off of his quote, I think I enjoy this because I know actual monsters are not real.
Mm-hmm.
I can live out the thrill of the monster scare without ever worrying that this might happen in real life, which is why I don't like serial killer entertainment unless it's serial killer romance, a la Bryn Weaver's Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark books, which, you know, surprise, surprise. I do like a little bit of serial killers in my entertainment. But like, that's why I didn't watch, you know, Strangers from Hell. Like that was too real as far as like strange things that real people could do. Mm-hmm. I don't want to fear that what I watch for entertainment could actually happen. So that, I guess that's where my control comes in with monsters, right? Like I know it's not going to actually happen to me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. I think what's interesting is like for me, sometimes the violence that is enacted by the monsters, I can disassociate a little bit from. Mm-hmm. Meaning, like if there's like a torture scene, like a human on human, I like cannot function. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But alien on human or monster on human, same thing, I guess. Is I don't know. I can like pull back a little bit from that. Like the
mm-hmm.
monster always symbolizes something. Yes, I understand that. But it's still the symbolism and also just, I guess, like the visual impact of it allows me to kind of enjoy the action and the gore in a way that I can't with human on human violence.
Yeah, I don't ever enjoy the gore, but I tolerate it.
I like it
in monster violence.
I think we're going to get into some of like my feelings on this a little bit later, but for me, I would say again, I think again, this is nuance. I do think I like internal conflict. Like I think more than external conflict. Like I don't like one I want external conflict still, but I think that for me, I tend to be like, you know, if it's just like a monster being a monster, I'm not having a thrill of the chase and feeling like I survive. I think I check out on some of that stuff, but if it's like in my head in some ways, then I really like it. So that's where I feel like we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the archetypes that can be a little bit more. I feel like I'm trying to sound so intellectual, and I'm like the least intellectual. But like,
I don't think that's true. I think
the zombie, but I'm just like, I'm not like trying to be.
Don't get to zombies yet. Those come later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to get into some of those things yet. But to me, like, I mean, just very loosely, zombies, vampires, some of that kind of stuff, I find more just like compellingly interesting. Because I guess maybe there's like the human angle. Whereas if it's just like the monster is like the baddie, that's just like a creature, I kind of just honestly don't care to the point that I'm like not interested. And like my family was trying to get me to watch like the new Alien. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like literally, two shit.
I
or like
saw
the
it.
blob. Like you're like, I don't care. It's just a blob.
Yeah,
Like,
don't care.
which by the way, the diner where the blob took place is in my husband's hometown. Just FYI. I drive by it often.
There's something non-titillating about a blob.
I know. I never was into
I
the blob.
actually really like a monster that I find also fuckable.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And the blob,
Not so much.
I'm just trying to think. I'm like, not to
Like
go
that's
there,
one fucking hot blob.
You know what I didn't ask in this script?
Said no one ever.
What I didn't ask in this script that we should probably get to later is just like the most fuckable K-drama monster. I really should have just totally dumbed this
You
down.
already mentioned
That's not
mentioned
dumbing
it.
it down.
It's
You already
Imugi.
mentioned it.
I stand by Imugi. I will
Yeah.
eat his eggs. I will choke on his eggs.
Joke
He
on
can
his-
put me on my knees and make me take them all.
Oh my God, stop it. Okay, well, speaking, I guess, of that, do you have a favorite monster in a Western show or a movie or one that really terrified you? I mean, I've used favorite loosely here, memorable, whatever.
Can I jump in on one that I have trauma about?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So this is going to be a short little story, but it's a tiny story. So my parents have had like a history of like when I was younger, they would always like put on the news. Like it just didn't matter. Like they didn't filter. Like it was weird. I wasn't allowed to watch like R-rated movies, but when they were engaging in some content that was like highly inappropriate for me, apparently that was fine. Sorry, my computer just updated something. And so when we would drive, we would do these road trips to Colorado every summer. And we would be in the car for 24 hours, either in a station wagon or a minivan. And they wouldn't stop either. Like we didn't stay at a hotel. We weren't allowed to stay at a hotel because we just didn't spend the money on that. We would like sleep in a truck stop. So we were like, we just did this. And I just thought every family did this. I didn't realize people like stayed in hotels. I thought they were for like the elite.
Oh my God.
And like
I'm already terrified.
I'm already
I
scared.
actually will send a picture next time of like the van that we were in because like my family still sends like pictures of like our traveling. But anyway, my mom would read to my dad in the front. And so I usually would sit behind my mom in the car. And so I would end up just listening to what they read. So there was a book that she read on one of these trips, and it was called Watchers by Dean Koontz. And this book, I know it's hokey. I'm sure. Like, I bet if I read it, if I looked at it now, I'd be like, what the fuck? This is so dumb. I'm just going to read you the blurb, though, because honestly, I think it's like, especially up Megan's alley. So the blurb that's like the very like, the log line is Travis Cornell, a former Delta Force operator, feels his life has become pointless and is exploring a canyon near his home when he encounters two genetically engineered creatures that have escaped from a top secret government laboratory. So essentially what this is it's a sentient dog and it's like this monster. And the sentient dog and the monster are like psychically connected in some way. And the monster needs to kill this dog. Like, it's like, when you hate something so much, but you love it, but you need to kill it. So essentially, this is the premise of the book. And I don't know what this was. Yeah, it's a golden retriever with enhanced intelligence. And then and then they call the baddie the outsider. So the outsider is just this like monster. And and all the outsider wants to do is like kill this dog and like kill anyone who's like with this dog. And so it just becomes like this crazy, and they were like tortured to become like Soviet like spy agents or something. I can't tell you I was transfixed in absolute horror. I was probably like 8. And it was just the relentlessness of this creature known as the outsider who just like killed anything in its way. And it was just obsessed with this dog. And they would like get somewhere and like the outsider was just always there. And then at the very end, I'm just going to spoil what happens at the end.
I mean, it's fine.
I don't
think we're going to read
context, but there was this thing that like really fucked me up. And it wasn't even that like, so he kills the dog in the end. Like the human doesn't die, but the dog Einstein dies. But something happens where it's like the outsider has this moment of like kind of like sentient humanity, and he has like something Mickey Mouse related, and the outsider is all of a sudden like Mickey, and then is like kill me, and I was like, it fucked me up. And
yeah, no, that's terrifying.
And so it's something about this monster that was just like so like one-dimensional and kind of like insanely dangerous and scary, and like being a kid and listening to this for like hours and hours. But then at the end, this like moment of like pathos for this creature that's like all of a sudden like he killed this thing he hated, but that he's also obsessed with. And then he's got this like Mickey Mouse fetish. And all of a sudden that was like really hard. Like it like tore at me. And then he's like, Mickey. And then he's like, kill me. And the entire trip, I was like fucked up in my head. I like could not stop thinking about it. And it still haunts me to this day. Like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about that character, the outsider, that just like messed me up. And I have a feeling the book's probably not that great. Maybe it's wonderful, but I was 9 years old and I should not have listened to whatever that was.
That's incredible. I'm sorry for your trauma, but
seriously.
Well, and I read this book. Drop me a line because I don't know.
I did not read the second part of the question that said, or one that really terrified you. So I was trying to think of a monster that I liked. So I'm going to pivot because I was going to talk about the Demogorgon from Stranger Things as far as like liking it for the scare factor to my own trauma, because I think we're going off of your trauma. I want to talk
personal trauma.
So I feel like it's cliche to have a fear of clowns, but like mine comes from a specific movie, and it is the Steven Spielberg 1980s Poltergeist.
Oh, you did a 180. I thought you were going to say It. Look at that.
No, not It. So
yeah,
I never read it. I never read it, and I never seen either the Tim Curry It or the most recent iteration. But I did watch Poltergeist because that was like the like quintessential like sleepover movie when I was like 10. And I still marvel at the fact that it's a Steven Spielberg movie, because this is like before I knew like who directors were and what they did and stuff like that. And this movie terrified me. So if you have not seen Poltergeist, if you are not a child of the 80s and have not seen this movie, it is basically, it's a family of 4 parents and 2 children, and the daughter basically gets sucked into the TV set by a poltergeist, and they're trying to save the daughter, and their whole house is haunted, and there ends up being a reason for it at the end, but that's not important. What's important is that the son, in bed one night during a terrible storm, every time the lightning flashes, his, for some reason, like life-size toy clown sitting across the room, like on a chair or whatever, keeps getting lit up by the lightning. And it's not like, you know, Ronald McDonald or like Bozo the clown. Like, it's a freaky looking clown. Like, why does anybody have this clown? Why?
Yeah.
So lightning strike, you know, thunder strikes, lightning lights up the room, and he sees the clown. Then a bolt of thunder and lightning comes, lights up, clown's not there. So what does he do? Like, I know as an adult that I don't even sleep to this day. I don't sleep with any body part dangling off of my bed. And it is because of this movie.
Same.
It is because of this movie. So what does the kid do? He's in bed, shaking, looking around his room. Where's my fun clown? And leans off, like dangles off of his bed to look under the bed. And there's the clown that starts choking him, strangling him. Yeah.
No. I don't think I've seen this movie.
Oh my God. Like another bolt of lightning, and like the tree crashes through the window. Like there's so much like Steven Spielberg, what are you doing to me? You're like one of my favorite directors.
Right.
But you traumatized me in my early childhood. Like, give me back E.T., please. Yeah. So yeah, that's where my hatred, fear of clowns comes from, is from Poltergeist. And I still can't believe like that my parents let me watch that movie, but they did, like on multiple occasions. I have to check. Like, I have a feeling that it's like rated PG, but it was scary enough. I have to look it up now because I have to know, because it was one of those things that I haven't watched it since I was a kid. So I wonder if, no, not the remake. 1982, Jo Beth Williams, Craig T. Nelson. Let's see, folks. It is rated PG.
Oh,
PG. And scary as fuck.
No, the choking clown.
Scary as fuck. Oh, yeah. I mean, all sorts of stuff. There's this, like, other scenes I'll never forget where the whole house is haunted, right? So it makes you see things that aren't there. This man is in the bathroom and he's looking at himself in the mirror, and he sees himself peeling his face off. Like, peeling the skin off of his face. And it's just a vision that the house is giving to him.
Oh, scary houses freak me out. I love them, but
I think that also goes to show you like how good storytelling can happen without the kind of gore that like we see nowadays. Even though I did think it was gory when I was 10, it's probably not. But yeah, clowns, poltergeist. Please, please tag me on our Instagram and let me know that you are with me in this.
See, what's weird to me is that I watched it too young. I was like in a basement with a bunch of kids. I think my parents were up somewhere that they didn't know that it was on. But I wasn't scared of clowns. I was scared of the shower. Because there's a scene where I think I've said this on the podcast before.
Yeah.
He comes out of the shower. So I was terrified of the shower. I thought he was going to come out of the shower. And that was also when so my parents built an addition under their house, and there was a bathroom that was just a shower stall. And I don't know what the deal is with the shower stall, but a lot of times there would be like those 1,000-legger bugs that would like somehow climb up. Like if you didn't use the shower like every day, they would just appear there. So you'd open it up and there'd be 1,000-legger just in the bottom of the shower stall. So anyway, I would always shower with my foot on the drain. I'm talking for years. I was scared. And I thought he was going to come out of the toilet too. But anyway, I need to talk about my favorite, because I have favorite monsters that I think about all the time. So my favorite monsters are from the movie Starship Troopers. And yes, it is a novel, but the novel doesn't have Casper Van Dien. So I'm going to talk about the movie. For those who don't know anything about Starship Troopers, this is not unfounded. This is unconfirmed, but pretty much it is a satire about war. It's just done. It's clearly a satire if you watch it. It's pretty overt, I think, in the messaging about like the horrors of war and sacrificing and who you're fighting and things like that. But it has amazing monsters. So they're aliens, but same difference. So basically it's an alien invasion. Okay. So it follows like a clan of human volunteers who sign up to fight them. So they have like a crash course in learning how to be a soldier, and they don't know what they're doing. They like shoot each other by accident. It's a disaster. So there's a few different types of bugs in Starship Troopers. Have either of you seen Starship Troopers?
No.
What? It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Okay.
Isn't Denise Richards in it?
Yes.
That's why I didn't see it.
Oh, she's not in it that much. The best is Casper Van Dien as Juan Rico. Anyway, so these are the ones I remember most. First, we have these like spider-looking bugs that attack in armies. So they're like kind of like the fodder, the cannon fodder. So they're the bugs that attack first. They run on 4 legs, and their front arms are like a praying mantis, except that they're like giant, like they can cut through like a human, like they like slice, you know? And then they also have like big, massive pincher jaws. They're huge too. When I say bugs, I'm talking like they're the size of a SUV. They are deadly, but they can be killed. And then there are the giant beetle-like bugs, and I'm talking like giant, like the size of a house. And they emerge from underground and they spew what looks like lava. I think they say it's plasma, whatever. It's like lava. And who can forget the scene where Rico jumps on the back of the giant beetle, rides it like a surfboard, all while shooting into like the bug's head, which gets all like pulpy and gross until it collapses. It's incredible because it's so fake looking, because there's no way he could like maintain riding on this beetle's back. I love it so much.
It's like riding the worms in Dune.
Yeah, this is way faker. I mean, he's clearly strapped on. Okay. Anyway, it's incredible. And then there are the brain bugs who suck the brains out of humans in order to mimic their intelligence. That's like the big baddie. Like that's who they have to fight at the very end, are like the brain bugs, which almost get Denise Richards. But at the last minute, Rico, her ex-boyfriend, saves her. I'm spoiling Starship Troopers, but that's only a little spoiler. You got to watch the whole thing. It's freaking great. So yeah, those are probably like my favorite monsters in Western TV, other than anything in Stranger Things.
Yeah. I mean, that, like when you said favorite monster, I went to Stranger Things and A Quiet Place because they have very similar monsters.
Very cool too.
Like the kids and I just watched A Quiet Place 3 over the weekend because my daughter was home. And so we had family movie night and we rented A Quiet Place day 1 on Amazon with Lupita Nyong'o and Joe Quinn from Stranger Things, Eddie from Stranger Things. And it was really good.
I love him.
And I mentioned, because I hadn't seen it's been a couple of years since I've seen a Quiet Place 2. And I was like, I didn't remember that the aliens looked like this. And they have like the flowering, like opening face, like just like the Demogorgon. And there's something like so, like I had this like visceral reaction to that kind of monster, like this thing that has like no like human type intelligence. Like, that there's no empathy. There's no like communicating or reasoning with this kind of monster. And I think that's one of the scariest kinds, is one that is just there to feed. And that's the same in Stranger Things and in A Quiet Place.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to kind of get into the types of monsters, and also don't worry, we're getting to K-dramas right now. So Professor Brody divides monsters into 4 categories, and obviously, like, look, you can probably give other categories for monsters. I just think these are interesting. This is what we're going to go off of. And I think there are plenty of K-dramas that can fit in multiple categories. But this just is a starting off point for us to discuss monsters. Okay, that's what it's for. But anyway, so Professor Brody says the first monster is the monster from nature, which he says, quote, represents a power that humans only think they have harnessed but haven't, like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, King Kong, and Godzilla are all examples of this type. An awesome abnormality that we can't predict and scramble to understand. It strikes without warning, like the shark in Jaws. While the obvious inspirations are real ferocious animals, they could also be thought of as embodied versions of natural disasters like hurricanes, earthquakes, and tsunamis. So do you have any K-drama examples of this?
I mean, Crash Landing on You?
I know, you put this and I was like, genius. I mean,
a tornado that dumps a South Korean heiress into North Korea, which I think for her is scarier than paragliding through the tornado itself. Like, that's a monster.
It's a monster.
I can't believe neither of you went with lunar water.
I know.
I totally forgot lunar water. That's amazing.
How could we forget?
I know.
Lunar water, which is essentially the blob as H2O.
It is.
It's going to penetrate every orifice.
It was such a great premise, though. Like water that drowns you from the inside out.
Let's say it's from the Silent Sea.
Yeah.
Let's tell her it's from the Silent Sea, which I think is on Netflix.
Yes.
Okay.
That was one of our highly anticipated dramas a few years ago, which we have panned very consistently.
But like conception, like idea, 10 out of 10. Execution, 0 out of 10.
Lunar water is some mystical thing that drowns you, but it's from nature, the moon.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's really good.
I actually said Black Knight because Black Knight is kind of like a climate change monster, essentially. Again, we're using monster like loosely here. We'll get into like some good monsters, but this is kind of hard because I feel like K-dramas, I mean, like Japan does Godzilla, but I feel like K-dramas maybe don't do this kind of monster as often, or maybe we're like totally missing the
sea creatures and
yeah, I don't know. And if so, let us know. But
Black Knight's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, because that's like essentially climate change has ruined the air, and
sometimes they need gas masks, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they need just like a scarf, sometimes they don't.
The rules are a little sketchy, but the next category is the created monster, which Leo says, like Dr. Frankenstein's monster, is the monster we have built and believe we can control until it turns against us. His descendants are the robots, androids, and cyborgs of today, with their potential to become all too human and threatening.
So I'm going a little bit of a stretch because I was trying, like, every time I thought of like robot type stuff, I kept thinking of stuff that worked out well. Like, oh my God, what's the AI one again that we loved, Leah?
Oh,
Hololove?
Hololove. My Hololove. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'm like blanking out today. So I'm going to stretch a little bit to Alchemy of Souls.
I like this. Yeah.
Because the early mages in this, fantasy made up world, the early mages harnessed the power of soul swapping, but learned all too quickly that in the wrong hands, it would be used for evil. Also, if a soul shifter, also a soul shifter would eventually petrify if they are not fed, and what they feed on is basically other people's souls or magic. So if they are hungry, they go like into a zombie sort of feeding frenzy unless they are stopped or killed, which is unfortunate for the poor, unfortunate souls who do not want their souls eaten. So I thought that was like interesting because they found a way to sort of control it, right? Like they harnessed this specific magic that they kept in these orbs or whatever, that could feed the soul shifter and keep them alive in their body. But if they didn't get that continued magic, then they would petrify or go zombie-like until they did.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. For me, I'm gonna say Gyeongsang creature. So I'm not really gonna spoil it. At least not right now. I'll let you know if I spoil it because the premise is pretty like you know the premise right away when you watch it because there are 2 seasons out now. But in season 1, essentially, the Japanese army is conducting human experiments on the Korean people in Korean occupied Joseon or modern day Seoul. So I'm sorry, it's Gyeongsang, so modern day Seoul. And so they essentially are creating these monsters who are monsters. I will say the creativity of these monsters is really, really cool because they're trying to build a better army, essentially. And I also think they're just like sick and wanting to see what they can create with this. They call it a Najin, but it's like this little tiny worm that they can have people ingest, and then it either kills them or turns them into these monsters. What's cool about Gyeongsang creature is despite the fact that it is a creature with like a massive creature, it still has it has like facial features. There's eyes, nose, mouth, has these like tentacles. But there's still some humanity left sometimes in the creatures. And that's where Gyeongsang creature has its heart as a drama, is because there's so much human elements within the storytelling of the monster. So they call him the creature, the Gyeongsang creature. But I'll always say that my favorite thing about monster stories are it's always who's the bigger monster, the creature or the human. And I that's like a tale as old as time, and I will like it every single time. Like that never gets old for me because it's always the human. It's always the human. Okay, the humans are always worse than the monsters. I just started watching Sweet Home, and there's a guy who actually says that. He's like, "Why are you scared of the monsters? Because you should be scared of the humans. The humans are always going to be worse." It's very like they lay it out there, but it was funny too because my son we were talking about stories the other day. And I was telling him how there's like no new story. And he was like, yeah, there has to be. And I was like, it's really not. It's going to be the same themes. It's the same themes that we tell over and over again because that's humanity. Kind of made him think a little bit. I hope it did.
So the other thing so I didn't really have like a great one for this.
Okay.
So the best one I went with was from Memories of the Alhambra. And I would say that in this, like, basically like the monster is kind of like the AR game itself, the augmented reality game that they play in the drama. So the drama is essentially that you like play this game and then there's like things that come to life and like you battle in the game. But the thing is that like reality in the game world like glitch out, and then like you can have like tragic, like that alternate reality can have like real world consequences. So essentially like you could die in the game, you could die in real life. And so I would say that like in some ways it's like the fact that like the AR system becomes kind of like this monster that people have to overcome, because at first you like select to play the game, you like put in these contacts and you play. Later things start happening where you're just getting into the game no matter what. Like you've lost consent to play the game. And then
That's
like
good.
the game can kill you.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that.
Same. I miss Hyunbin.
Yeah. Okay, so next up is the monster from within, which Leo says is the monster generated by our own repressed dark psychology, the other side of our otherwise bland and blameless human nature. Think the like Mr. Hyde or Dr. Jekyll. When nondescript and seemingly harmless young men turn into mass murdering killers or suicide bombers, the monster from within has shown his face. So, do you have any examples for this?
So I'm not going to have as strong of examples as you two because I will not watch the mass murdering killers. I have watched stuff with murderers. I think a lot of the stuff, like even even though I've said like I like serial killers in my K-dramas, I usually like them like on the side. And unfortunately, more often not, those serial killers are kind of caricatures. So I'm going with something that's not a caricature. And these in general, these kind of monsters are the ones that scare me the most, which is why I watch very little with this kind of monster in it. So I'm going to go with a unique K-drama twist on this monster trope because I think it goes hand in hand with a lot of drama, like human villains. And that's the Chaebol son who is starved for love and basically transforms into a monster who commits despicable acts in search of that love. And specifically, I'm going to talk about An Bo-hyun as Jung Gun-won from Itaewon Class. All this guy wants is to be loved by his father. That's all he wants. And he'll do anything to get that love. And when he finally thinks that he's gone as far as he must in order to earn it, his father makes him take the fall for his own despicable acts, and Gun-won goes to prison. Is he reformed? No. He does some shirtless push-ups, gets super buff.
I love it.
And when he's released, he has nothing left to lose. Like, that's the scariest one, right? Like, when you have nothing left to lose, which means he's hell-bent on vanquishing his enemy, both physically and mentally, which means killing the person Park Seo-hee loves the most, which is Jo Yoo-seo, played by Kim Da-mi. And if you don't know who Park Seo-hee is, it's Park Seo-joon. If you haven't seen Itaewon Class. Does he succeed? Watch the drama and find out. But I think that this is like for me, a strong example in the dramas that I've watched, because had Gun-won gotten what he needed when he was a child, I think this is a very good nature versus nurture argument. I think he would have been a different person.
I would say like his example, the professor's example, like harmless young men turn into mass murdering killers or suicide bombers. Like that's never going to be a genre I like. Like I actually don't love serial killing. I'm sorry, in like a drama. I'm sorry, I should say. I don't love
in general.
Strangers from Hell was different because that was just different. But normally I don't love just like a serial killer plotline. I like a really complicated murder plotline like Blackout, where there's like very specific reasons for why things happened. And it was a result of numerous things like jealousy and greed and power. Those are always going to be kind of my favorite type of this trope. But I do have some examples. So first would be Death's Game. I'm not going to say much other than if you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. There's two serial killers who essentially battle each other, and it's freaking incredible. But they really do show like the one serial killer played by Kim Ji-hoon. You actually do see the moment where he sees a man who's been hit by a car laying like dying on the sidewalk. And you can see him like get aroused by it. Like he is titillated, you can say.
Why is he so good at that?
I don't know. He's very good at it because I'm going to mention him again in another thing later. But anyway, you can tell that's the moment where he's like, I want to be a serial killer when I grow up. I mean, it's like very weird. And then I'm going to mention Sweet Home, and this is why. Sweet Home is interesting because I just started watching it. I'm going to give like a slight spoiler, but I don't think this really matters. But basically you can turn into a monster. I don't know how yet. Like it's like a really random infection. It's not like zombies where you get bitten. It's not really like that. But what's interesting is that the monster you turn into is your desire. And this kind of, I feel like it fits into this topic because of that. Because it is really interesting. They have like this really massive monster. He's like a giant. He looks like Hulk. And he just runs around saying protein, which sounds silly. And it kind of is, but it's also not because he's terrifying. And I'm assuming he's like a bodybuilder or protein. Like he like wanted a lot of protein. You know what I mean? Like a bodybuilder type. they're in a mall in season 2, and there's a former woman who's turned into this creature, and she's just like there's a million clothes on top of her. Like she just keeps collecting clothes and putting them on her. Like she's like a clothes monster. Like that was her desire or something. There's plenty others that are like that. There's like, you can tell there's like some sort of desire they had, and that is the type of monster they turned into. It's a little clunky. Some of them don't check out, I would say. But I still found it interesting that that's what they chose. It's not their fear, it's their desire.
Let's see. I went with. So for this one, I went with Strangers from Hell.
Of course.
And Lee Dong-wook's character. Because essentially what I think is like interesting about this is kind of the idea of like this like Hell Joseon made like reality. So this divide between the haves and have-nots. And Lee Dong-wook's character is actually like upper class. He's like a dentist. Or I mean, I don't know if he's living very, very poverty level because, that's where the dinner is. Because he likes to eat a certain kind of meat, the meat that's found on human bodies.
Oh my God.
But the idea is that like, you can take people who like kind of don't matter to society and do what you want with them. And so it's kind of what happens in the underbelly of like the world, and basically that like dog eats dog world kind of thing.
And it's so good. And it is surprising because normally that's not my type. But I think Strangers from Hell had a certain vibe to it that I could disconnect myself from, I think. Like they were so monstrous in human form to a degree. And also because it was like just Lee Dong-wook, and I don't know. Okay, and the last is the monster from the past. Like Dracula, Professor Brody says, comes out of a pagan world and offers an alternative to ordinary Christianity with his promise of a blood feast that will confer immortality. Like a Nietzschean Superman, he represents the fear that the ordinary consolations of religion are bankrupt and that the only answer to the chaos of modern life is the securing of power. That's all sounded very intellectual. You can tell he's a professor at the esteemed USC.
Can I jump in for this one? Because I'm also just going to say that at some point I'm going to stop talking for a little bit because I am also, while I'm doing this podcast, it's the exact same moment that J-Hope from BTS is getting released from the military.
Yes.
And so I've got the streaming going in the background and it looks like things might be happening. So when that does happen, I'm going to step out just to at least watch him leave. He's going to make some statements and go.
Yeah.
So if I can just jump in for this one, I will. And so it's Jung Hyun, I think is how you say his name. I didn't look up the pronunciation, unfortunately, because I was doing this on the fly. But this is the king's advisor in Goblin.
Very good one.
Yeah.
Basically,
this is a really good one.
We see him being an advisor, being very like manipulative, very hungry for power, kind of like, taking advantage of a young king, and then being so power hungry that even once he's dead, he is becoming undead to live out his dreams of like ultimate power consolidation, even as like an undead, black-tongued.
Purple. It's purple.
Purple-tongued, black-hearted,
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I can't believe that in all of Goblin, sometimes I forget he's there.
Yep.
I'm so
he doesn't come
on...
in because he's right. We see him in flashbacks and then he doesn't become super prominent until like the middle.
Yeah.
I also think we're focused on the romance, you know what I mean? So we forget about, yeah.
Right. No, that's a really good one. I mean, I took the low hanging fruit and went with Imugi because that was the first thing that came to mind, thinking of like an ancient type of monster that just keeps coming back. And Imugi has been after our red-tailed fox and his power for centuries. And what a fantastic monster he is.
Yeah. So I actually have not seen Hellbound, but this made me think of Hellbound. Because Hellbound is about these like creatures who condemn individuals to hell. It reminds me a little bit of My Demon, except he makes like bargains. But these are like giant like if you've seen Hellbound or the drama, or if you've seen like trailers, but they're like these giant creatures and they'll come and, you know, tell you
I
because
remember
of
the
your
trailer.
sins. Yeah, that you're, but I think I think the one of the reasons I didn't really watch Hellbound is because it does have a lot of religious undertones that just usually isn't my favorite. But if that is your favorite, try Hellbound. But yeah, they're like these like hulking supernatural like monsters. And so I was really interested until I realized that it has like, yeah, then it's just, I was like, oh, it's not up my alley, but that's okay. So, are any of these your favorite or your least favorite?
That we've already talked about?
Yeah.
I mean, yes. Like I like the ancient undead type monsters. Like you know, I love vampires. And I'm still to no one's fault but my own. Like I still have not watched any K-dramas with vampires, and I know they exist, and I keep talking about how I want a vampire hero. But yeah, I do need to seek some of those out because that's definitely my favorite kind of monster. Because again, that monster, like Leo was saying earlier, like that's a monster that has like some sort of like humanness to their form. And they can be scary but also sexy. And I like scary and sexy together. Like not a blob.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's nothing better than like, look, this is not a K-drama reference, but I do want to just say that like if anyone ever read like any of like the Grishnaverse, like Justice for the Darkling,
The
like
Darkling.
I do love a dark baddie. I also like I'm like my family's so mad about the new Lord of the Rings because I was like I'm into a Sauron. Where's his love story? And they're like, "Why doesn't he get a love story?" I'm like, okay,
like
fair, but like
Sauron is evil.
Yeah, I know. Like I was like, you know, give us a little Galadriel, good kid.
So, but wait, you say, what about zombies? Well, they get their very own special section of this pod. According to Leo, Professor Brody, again,
you're calling him by his first name is cracking me up.
I don't know why I did that. The whole script, I'm like, according to Leo, why did I do that? Like,
English teacher in me wants to like call you out because
I know.
I would always tell my students when they would write papers, you never refer to your sources by their first name. It's either full name or last name.
Yeah, and I'm fully aware of that. So I'm not sure what I was doing today. I think I just felt on a first
Yeah, you were a journalist. You know what you're doing.
I know. I don't know what's going on. Anyway. So the central distinction between the traditional monsters such as Frankenstein monster, Dracula, or Mr. Hyde is that the zombie exists primarily as part of a group. Unlike earlier monsters who all stand alone, even in a kind of grandeur, one zombie is barely distinguishable from another. What might the horrific image of mindless hordes out to eat our brains represent in the 21st century? It could symbolize whatever we fear will overwhelm and engulf us. Epidemic disease or globalization or other things that can make us fearful. Or it could be something less tangible and more existential, the loss of anonymity and individuality in a complex world, the threat of impersonal technology that makes each of us just another number in an electronic list. End quote.
I was worried, first of all, that we weren't going to get to talk about zombies. So I was happy that you gave us a note early on to just hold off on the zombies, that it was coming, because this is obviously one of my favorite monster genres. And I think that's the reason why we have so many zombie K-dramas and movies, and even the same in Western media, is that creative storytellers want to push the envelope as far as like humanity's breaking point, like what you brought up before. Like zombie stories challenge humanity. And that's really, I think, what we're all like, that's the big fear that I think a lot of us have, is what we're afraid of losing on a global scale. Because a common thread through all zombie stories, whether it's a movie like Train to Busan or a drama like Happiness, is how do we as humans react when our societal norms and morals are challenged by creatures who don't behave accordingly? Like, do we then still behave accordingly? Or do we subscribe to a new world order? And, you know, you bringing up the idea that like there's no new stories, that it's always a retelling of the same sort of like archetypes. I think that's what we have in zombie entertainment, is we're always looking at the idea of how do we as humans react when we are put in this sort of monstrous situation. And
I feel like
it's never well.
Right.
We never react
I feel like
well.
there's always a scene in these types of dramas or movies or anything where there's someone who's like, we have to still keep our manners, or we have to still do this because we have to hold on to our humanity. Like there's a scene in Sweet Home. I think they're like eating, or maybe he says, watch how you speak to me, like formally or informally. And I think someone says, why does it matter? And the character is like, we still need to hold on to like what makes us us. We still need to hold on to our society and our culture. And I feel like there's a scene like that in, most of these dramas. So, but basically, is all of that, is it really that deep to you? And I don't say that in like a mocking way. Like I'm only curious, or do you just like the thrill of watching people run from zombies? So what really do you like about the genre? And shout out if you have a favorite.
I think that is why I like it, because it is deep. It's not just, running from monsters. Although I will never forget like this, like a zombie scene that sticks in my mind, like sadly, like rent free until the end of time, is in the movie version of the book World War Z, when you see like the horde of zombies scrambling over the giant wall.
It's haunting. I hate that scene. I hate it.
Because that was I was like, zombies are fast. They're not supposed to be fast. And it is like, just like ants, like climbing up a wall. Terrifying. But like, no, but that's not why I like the scare of it, but I like even more that we are examining our humanity. That's really what it's about to me. And in anything I've watched with zombies, Eastern or Western, the story is 99% of the time about the nature of humanity when our moral code is challenged. I'd say except for maybe Zombie Detective. Because it is like the one zombie, like entertainment where there's one zombie and it's from his point of view. It's goofy as fuck.
It's so goofy.
But Train to Busan is my favorite. So I'm going with a movie rather than a drama, because it holds tight to the ideal of holding on to our last shreds of humanity and using that moral compass to protect those that we love the most.
Ugh, love Train to Busan. Yeah, I would say All of Us Are Dead is my favorite. I mean, that is a top drama of mine. I know it's a top drama for Leah as well. I'm not sure about you, Amy. It's okay if it isn't.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I was just saving it for you guys to talk about because I knew somebody was going to want it.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, All of Us Are Dead is so good. And the thing about All of Us Are Dead is that I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler for All of Us Are Dead. I got to be, if you have not seen it,
it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, if you have not seen it and you want to, I'm going to spoil some things. I get it though, if like this isn't your genre, and then you can just listen to me talk. But so I always love a twist on lore. You know, we have a whole podcast on All of Us Are Dead, so you can check it out. But I do like the idea that there are obviously mindless zombies, and then there are kind of like super zombies. And they are scary, yes, because they're intelligent, but they're also scary because they have their humanity still in a way. So Guinam is a super zombie. So Guinam, before he turned into a zombie, he was a pretty terrible person. So when he turns into a zombie, then he's still a terrible person, but he has zombie regenerative abilities. He can like have his eye poked out and he's like still fine. And also zombies don't eat him. So he can he doesn't have to run from the zombies like everyone else. He is a zombie, but he also has he still has like emotions because he's angry at the main character Chong San, which we'll get to him a little bit later because I mentioned him again. But so he still wants to like get revenge on Chong San. So he's like, I think that's what I like about All of Us Are Dead, is because there's so much interpersonal drama. And I don't say drama in a light way. Conflicts is probably a better word. There's so many interpersonal conflicts that are interwoven into this zombie thriller that makes it just still one of the absolute best. I have to say I'm watching Sweet Home right now. And I think to its detriment, I'm comparing it to All of Us Are Dead, which I realize isn't fair because they're not the same. But if I'm going to be watching some type of like running from monsters type of drama, I want the interpersonal conflicts that are so rife in All of Us Are Dead that I'm not getting in Sweet Home. And so I'm just trying to watch Sweet Home on its own merits, but it's hard because I think I keep being like, but I want this to be like All of Us Are Dead. That's kind of what I expected, which isn't, again, not fair to Sweet Home.
But yeah, I mean, All of Us Are Dead. Please watch it if you haven't. Like, even if you don't think you like zombies, there's so much story, there's so much plot. And really, what is scarier than a mindless zombie is an intelligent zombie, a zombie that still has hold of its like faculties and stuff like that. So
yeah,
scary.
and also often in these dramas, it's also like the government and military response to the disaster.
Yeah.
And that often is worse than the disaster itself, which I mean, that's pretty real, I think. And so that's rough too. That happened in All of Us Are Dead. The response wasn't helpful. They sacrifice people and it's hard to watch. It's so that's always, I just feel that's why I think All of Us Are Dead kind of had everything. And hey, you can't have a monster story without a hero. The one who battles both the monsters and the evil humans and wins. In an article on Harvey Lark by Christopher Peruzzi, he says that almost all heroes are weaker than the monster, but the heroes are craftier and are able to find the monster's weakness. So shout out a favorite K-drama hero and why they're your favorite.
I like that we both went the same route with this.
Yeah.
With our answers. Yeah.
We're being repetitive, but I'm sorry.
I don't care. I don't care. Because honestly, like, this is so weird to say about a zombie movie, but Train to Busan like hit me in the feels, and so did All of Us Are Dead, but you're going to talk about all of Us Are Dead. Mm-hmm. Hit me in the feels like I so was not expecting. So spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil the end of Train to Busan. If you've not seen this fantastic movie with Gong Yoo, please, please, please go see it. It's so good. Mm-hmm. So good. Okay. So for exactly the same reason that I said, earlier about hanging on to our humanity until the last possible moment, I'm going to say Gong Yoo's character from Train to Busan is my favorite monster hero. So put on your noise canceling headphones, because here I go discussing the end of the movie. Okay. So Seok-woo is Gong Yoo's character, has so much growth in his ride from Seoul to Busan. He reconnects with his daughter after being a pretty absent divorced father. He helps lead the fight against the zombies on the train because it starts with one infected person sort of like hopping on the train at the last moment. And you know what happens when you're in an enclosed space with one zombie. One zombie becomes all the zombies. So shit hits the fan really quickly. And he almost makes it to Busan with his daughter and then realizes that he's been bit. And in his final moments, after being bitten, before his change is complete, he leaps from the moving train in one of my favorite cinematic moments ever. And you just see, you see the train moving along the tracks and you see his shadow basically like swan dive.
Can he come? Yeah, it's more of like a slow fall.
It is. I
think that
it is. It's like he just lets go, like the final letting go. That's what it is. It's the final letting go.
But it's while it's a montage of his daughter being born and her little baby feet. I can't take it.
And him just like remembering all the good of being her father. And he's going to do this last thing for her. Like he hasn't been a great father since the divorce. He's going to be the best father he could be right now in this moment. And you see him change. His eyes go white and he just lets go. And you just see the shadow fall. To save his daughter and any other survivors from the monster that he knows he will become. He wanted humanity to win.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I know. It's so good. It's one of my favorites of all time.
And then Silent C has to go and do him dirty.
with the what was it? The single teardrop and the light out.
The
and
light
helmet.
flickering out. And zero explanation of his neck tattoo. I'll never be over it.
Never know why. Just yeah. So I'm gonna say Lee Chong-son from All of Us Are Dead. I know I just mentioned him, but now I'm gonna go a little bit more into it. So again, All of Us Are Dead is students in a high school trying to survive a zombie apocalypse. It's great. It's forced proximity. It's first loves. It's enemies. It is just so good. And Lee Chong-son is a teenager. I mean, he in this the character, and he's very much a teenager. The very first scene, he definitely has a crush on his kind of like childhood friend, but he's too immature to tell her, and instead he kind of like picks on her and teases her like a teenage boy would do. Like the way they set up his character is, oh, he's an immature teenage boy who can't even tell his crush that she's pretty. That's how they set up his character. He's a likable guy, but he's also immature. But in the course of All of Us Are Dead, he has to become a hero. He loses friends. He has to battle Guinam. I mean, the scenes where the library scene where he's like battling Guinam is just insane. Okay. And in the end, he has to make a really hard choice to do. I'm going to spoil All of Us Are Dead now. Okay. So skip ahead. But he has to make the really hard choice to essentially sacrifice himself for his crush on Joe and the rest of the survivors. And they do make it. His sacrifice is why they make it to the safe zone. It's him. And so I'll never be over it because I loved the maturity his character had to go through. And in the end, this is the thing about All of Us Are Dead is like, they're always going to bring in the humanity because in the end, he's finally able to tell her that he has a crush on her right before he dies and makes the sacrifice. So it's like, I know it seems little that he was able to like make that maturity leap. It seems little, but it's not. It's really not, especially if you in the span of the drama and how they set up his character. The fact that he was finally able to tell her he likes her means so much, especially in a world that's like uncertain and crumbling.
So good. He's so good.
He is. So I'm sorry to take All of Us Are Dead, Leah, because I know.
I think we're good. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So in Peruzzi's article, he also says that almost all stories have a victim who dies so the hero can live. Either the victim dies of his own stupidity or out of sacrifice. And some of the deaths are the fuel the hero needs to shift into his final heroic form. So any K-drama examples of this?
I honestly, I can't get Gong Yu's death. So like, I just wrote C above. Like, because like he's both the hero and the sacrificial lamb. Like right? he's everything. Mm-hmm. He's everything. Sukwu.
I mean, Chong-sung kind of does the same thing, but I love. This is actually one of like my favorite things about kind of like monster action type. A Western example that always comes to mind is like when William Wallace's wife is killed in Braveheart, or when the Punisher's family is killed, or when John Wick's dog is killed. Like those.
That's always an origin. That's the origin story.
It's always the origin story, especially for like superhero movies, but it's where the hero can like finally shine. So as far as K-dramas, I'm going to talk about My Name, and I am going to fully spoil My Name, which Leah also watched. So Ji-woo is played by Han So-hee, and she has been living her entire life for revenge against the person who killed her father. She has been living alone, essentially under a false identity, so she's formed no personal attachments. Like since her father died, she has not been close to anyone. Until Pildo, played by An Bo-hyun, enters her life. He is a police detective with her. She's like faking kind of, well, she's not faking. She like is a police detective, but she's only a police detective to get revenge on the baddie. But Pildo is the first one who really believes in her, supports her, and he's kind of the first one to like really give her affection. She has not had affection since her father died because she's really maintained her distance from other people. So Hansuhi had always been deadly because that's kind of the thing about her, is that she's been like training all her life. But in truly one of the most surprising deaths that I have ever seen in a K-drama, the enemy drives by the car that Jiwoo is sitting in with Pildo, aims his gun and shoots Pildo right in the forehead. Basically, point blank range. Out of nowhere, in traffic while they're like holding hands. Like they had just banged it out in like a safe house after running from the baddie, and Pildo dies. He dies instantly, falls in her lap, and Jiwoo then flings herself into Act 3 and is an all-out killing machine for the last episodes. Like, she's insane. She kills everyone, like, because they killed her Pildo. And it was like the one thing that she had cared about since her father died. And it was pretty incredible.
I was shocked when you told me about it.
It was...
I can't imagine watching it.
An insane plot twist. It truly was. I'll also add in the movie Ballerina. So Okju, played by Jung So, discovers that her best friend... They don't say it's a gay relationship, but you can't tell me it's not. I think it's canon. Like, they are very much in love. And it's called Ballerina because her best friend was a ballerina. So her best friend, the ballerina, has taken her life, but she leaves Jong-so a note to please, like, essentially avenge her death. Like, find out why I had to do this. And Jong-so had already been, I don't even remember, she had been some sort of special forces. She was already, like, a badass. But oh my God. Once her friend dies, it is all hell breaks loose for 2 hours. She just, again... It's very similar to mine. If you liked My Name, just watch Ballerina, because it's like the same thing in a movie form. She just goes nuts. And it was, so it's like, sacrifice a victim so the hero can be the hero, which is sad, but.
So I honestly couldn't think of one that was like, I couldn't think of one.
That's okay. I know, it's all right. Don't worry. We'll just.
And I think I was trying to think about it, and it's like, because I think I haven't seen enough, like, to fit, like, there were things I thought of that were like bait and switch, like when like Kim Bong's character dies and like we think he dies at one point in like Tale the Nine Tail.
Oh, right.
But there's times where there's like, we think things have happened and then that can propel people, but I couldn't come up with like a good one that was like the character died. Like My Name is the best example I've got. I mean, that's I think your example is the perfect example.
Yeah, that was a good one, right? Though, do you remember after that she just went crazy?
Yeah, because it's like, and I think it was like, because it was surprising, because it was like such a magical character, and they just had like a very intense for K-drama sex scene.
Yeah, you saw side butt on Bohan.
Yeah,
it was beautiful, and but it was also like so sad because she hadn't been touched in like a decade. Like it's just great. Her life was really, really sad. Oh God, it was good. It was a good drama, but it was like, I'm glad it wasn't that long. I think it was short, like 10 episodes maybe, and I'm kind of glad because it was rough watching. So, I will go to this one first. Name a K-drama character who is an actual human but is so terrible that you classify them as a monster.
So without getting too spoilery, I'm going to say Do Hyun-soo's father in Flower of Evil. And I don't really know what I can say without without spoiling some of the drama. So cover your ears if you haven't seen Flower of Evil, because I do want to talk about this for a second. Because Do Hyun-soo, played by Lee Joon-gi, all his life thinks that he's a psychopath. And believes that he is, and his father was, and believes that he is his father's son, and that he is exactly like his father, and that he is dangerous and has done some horrible things. And in flashbacks, we get to see his father trying to groom him to be a psychopath. Like
a serial killer, basically.
Yeah. Trying to turn him into one. And it's terrifying. And, he keeps seeing like the ghost of his father once he's an adult. And I don't, it's another one of those like situations where a boy just wants his father's love. And when his father can't do to him what he wants to do to him, he finds another willing participant. And there is another character that ends up becoming the serial killer that Do Hyun Soo would never become.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you might mention him, Megan.
Oh.
Did you say you were going to talk about him later?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I was. We'll get to it, but yeah.
Okay. Then I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, I was actually going to say, the father of Itaewon Class, the father of Don Juan.
Oh God, yeah.
I can't stand that man. I've said it before on this podcast. I dislike him so strongly. I can't stand him. And I think he is so selfish. He's so mean. He does things just to make people hurt emotionally. And
he just wants to exert his power. That's all he wants to do.
Yeah, he just wants to exert his power. I just dislike him so strongly. I truly think he's a monster. And just one of my, every time I think about my most hated character, and I've like watched a lot of K-dramas, but he still really sticks out to me as being, I mean, I think I dislike him more than Jin-Moo from Alchemy of Soul.
Well, Jin-Moo's kind of like
Jin-Moo with his bleached hair. I mean,
yeah, I mean, he's kind of silly.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. So I don't know, but I can't stand that guy. I don't even know his name. I refuse to know his name. That's how much I dislike him.
I'm looking him up.
He just gets called the father from Itaewon Class.
So I have one, but it's already one I've talked about, but I don't care because it's one of my faves. It's in my top 10. I don't care. And it is Seo Moon-jo, who is Lee Dong-wook's dentist character. So I love this drama. I really just love this drama.
I know.
And it's more psychological than scary. Like there's not a ton of jump scares. It's just more kind of like this like impending death and doom. But what I like when you have like a very buttoned up character who's like just holding it all in. And then I love when you see like the cracks showing. So and making him a dentist was just such a perfect choice.
It was. It totally was.
Because you see him having these people in very vulnerable positions and yet like holding it in. He's keeping it in. He's removing the tooth. He's doing his business. And then when he's got a chance to do his business in a way that feels good to him, that embodies his true self, just to like watch, like, towards the end when you start to really see him just like really just living his full authentic life.
Full serial killing cannibal life.
Yeah, it's a really interesting. And also I think that there's like something that will always creep me out about like, they're in those the rooms with the paper thin walls and like his it was also like, it wasn't that he was like eating the meat and all of that. It was like his slow obsession with like the other character.
MC Wan's character.
And like, it was always like, what is it? Like, is there like a eroticism to it? Is it just like join me in my bestieism? Is it sadistic? Is it like calls to like? And the movie really kind of like makes you grapple with like, what do you think this all is?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really love that movie.
This is
weird to say.
This is the thing that's so crazy about, I'm really curious about, like, I want to see the script and I want to hear the director's like instructions because I don't know how else to explain. I've watched a lot of like serial killer type like movies or whatever. It's not my favorite, but I still do. The utter joy that Lee Dong-wook experiences is not it's not like what you normally see when you watch serial killing. And it's because sometimes people just look diabolical like
No,
a diabolical.
This is a good day.
No, he is like, this is so joyful for him. This is his favorite thing to do. This is like, it's like he has the same smile while he's killing people that I do when I'm like petting my cat. I don't know how else to explain that to people. Like, that's why this drama was so crazy and why his character has stuck with, I think, both you and me.
Yeah.
It's because the
It's
sheer
me
joy.
Me watching BTS.
Yeah,
is the joy he's having.
Exactly. Lee Dong-wook, yes, that is his BTS. And the joy he gets eating human meat is really want to say this. Like chocolate cake. Like he is just so happy. He's so happy. And he's like so happy when he realizes MC Wan, a little spoiler here, is like also like losing it.
Well, he makes it his special project. I mean, this is his whole thing.
Oh my God, it's wild. It's wild. Thank you for bringing up Lee Dong-wook as that character because I forgot about the utter joy he experienced.
And the sweatiness and just stankiness everyone has in that film, except for Lee Dong-wook. Like the rest of them, they're just so sweaty. They're so dirty. They're just like the rooms are so hot and oppressive. Everything, like everyone just looks gross. Really.
No one has clean clothes.
Yeah, it's
Never.
just, and you can like almost smell it. Like you just know it's funktastic. And like he's moving through in like a white button down. Like he's in like a beautiful, like he just looks beautiful and clean and unsoiled.
Yeah.
And it's great.
So I said, I started watching Sweet Home. It's reminds me a lot of Strangers from Hell and how it's shot. Everyone is sweaty all the time. No one looks like they have they don't have clean clothes because it's like the apocalypse. But before that, when things were normal, they didn't have clean clothes. They were always sweaty. It's like the same type of like apartment with like just closed hallways. You know what I mean? So like no light. It's the same thing. It's just you can feel the sweat through the screen. It drives me crazy. Okay. So finally, oh wait, did you? Yes. Wait, did you say? Yeah. Did you say someone, Amy?
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. You're right. Okay. Anything else you need to get off your chest about monsters? And is there a monster you really want to see more of in K-dramas?
I mean, I already mentioned vampires, and I know that I will say again, I know that there are vampires in K-drama, but they're not very prevalent. And yeah, give me some I want Vampire Diaries in K-drama form. That's really what I'm looking for. Give me two vampire brothers, love triangle with a human heroine. Like, just give it to me. Okay.
I feel like in Western media, especially like Hollywood, we get tons of vampires that are like sexy. Whereas in Korea, the gumios are all the sexy ones. So
there are a lot of gumios. And I'm not saying no, I am not going to kick a gumio out of bed.
No, we love gumios and their beads.
And their dragon foes.
Yeah, we love a good gumio. We just want in addition.
Yes. Yeah, because we didn't even talk about a gumio being a monster because he's sexy.
I know, because I was kind of like,
because he's not a monster, he's the hero.
Okay, so I guess I'm asking this on the fly. Is there the most fuckable monster? You can include gumios now.
Yeah. My existential crisis I have here is this, and I'm going to bring it to the both of you. So the two monsters I'm going to name the most fuckable are Eon from Tail the Nine-Tailed.
Yeah.
So Imugi from Tail the Nine-Tailed.
Sure. I know. Like,
so which one? Like, if you've got to go for it, God.
Do you have to pick? Why choose?
Yes, right. For my question, you have to pick. I just keep getting hung up on that baby arm. Baby arm neck vein. When he's kissing. I mean, he's doing
I mean, personally, I think I'm going to choose Eon. Because he's not a baby man. Meaning, like, I just know the ages of the actors, and that's what holds me up.
So, why? Yeah, you know what? The whole thing was that Imugi wanted her body. Like, why didn't we turn this into a love triangle? Like, how great would that have been? What if he because he didn't like try to seduce her, right? Not really. Like,
No.
what if he had tried to seduce her? How amazing would that have been? You know, like take out all the thing where she's like the island and being chased by children. Like,
I
get
don't know
rid
where
of
any of that
all
came
that.
from. We're like, is
Rid
this a horror movie? Like,
Yeah,
Let me
get
tell
rid of
you
the
what I wish
island.
okay, you tell, and then I gotta say mine.
Well, I'm just saying, get rid of the island and just start it off as she's got this like new intern, and he's being real flirty, and it's really inappropriate. But she's like, okay, but he is a cute intern. But then she finds out there's like something going on, and then Yun comes into her life, and she realizes she is the fox bee. I've obviously I don't have it fully fleshed out, but like, what if we started with that?
I want a BL.
ooh,
BL is going to be Imugi and Ian.
okay.
Oh my God.
However, like Imugi, like there's something where like Imugi to like seduce Ian, like we're gonna have like some gender bending because he's in her body,
He is.
and so it's gonna be that thing where it's like reverse Mr. Clean, except intentionally like there's gonna be some sort of like can we then like fall in love with this like gender like there's got to be something where that like kind of like ebbs and flows, but like he enters her body to like shoot his shot, as the eternal villain who wants to like destroy the world, but as his dark king he wants Yun, and then he
I'm
like
obsessed.
Yun, but he's like in her body.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
Ooh,
amazing.
I like that a lot.
I love it.
And look, I also want to backtrack and say like no shade at all to Itae. He's gorgeous, but he's only 31. So
Oh, that's
like,
not bad. I mean,
it's not bad, but like that's young.
31.
He's 31.
31's that's old enough.
31's your brain's developed. You are living.
Yeah.
You're a full grown.
He's got a full frontal lobe. He can grow facial hair. It's fine.
31 is 0.
And Imugi himself is thousands of years old. So
yeah, right.
And 31 couldn't be older.
and we look at me not bringing up a goblin as a monster, because he's not. He's in human form the entire time. Like, like he only ever has magical powers. Like I don't know. Like trust me, I love Goblin, like Kim Shin forever. But like I don't put him in the category of monster.
Because he's not doing goblin business.
No, he's not. Whereas like Eon is, I mean, we know he's a nine-tailed fox. Like he's doing some bad shit sometimes.
Right. And also Eon, he was like born like that. Like he was just a Gumio, whereas Gong Yu, that's like a curse.
Right.
Same with the Reaper. Idong Uk.
Right.
That's like, it's all a curse, essentially. I mean,
for him, it's a punishment.
Yeah.
An afterlife punishment.
Curse, punishment, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't classify that.
Spoilers for Goblin if you don't know.
Oh, right. But yeah, he's not doing like goblin. What do goblins do? He's not doing goblin business. Okay. He's delivering boy sandwiches to people. I mean, he's not a monster.
He's saving lives, basically. He's saving lives like one $5 footlong at a time.
One.
Oh my God. I forgot about that. I mean, like the fact that if I watched that today, I'd be like, I'm sorry.
We didn't know about product placement then.
I was just kind of like, this is random. I don't really get it. Now I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me that we just tried to like interrupt a suicide attempt with a Subway sandwich? At the time, I really just like, I didn't get it. I just rolled through it. Now I would have had some things to say.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure I would have too. I think it was like that was so early in our K-drama watching experience that I think we like Subway. Now I see Subway and I'm like, oh my God, they're going to talk about how delicious it is. Like, I just like see it coming.
Whereas somebody pops open a pack of Kopiko, they're going to feel so refreshed.
Oh, they're going to feel
that in their mouth.
They're going to have so much more energy. What was I watching recently? And they wouldn't stop going in. Oh, that was oh my gosh, not My Sweet Mobster. What's the one we just watched with Shin Min-a?
No Gay, No Love?
Thank you. No Gay, No Love. Didn't they keep going in that banana espresso place?
Yes.
Every day.
And we've seen that place in other drama, like that coffee shop in other dramas.
Every day.
Yeah.
And you know what? They still weren't really drinking their drinks.
Nope.
It's like, drink your drinks and then get on with your business. So anyway, so I think that's it for today. That was really fun.
That was fun, Megan. I'm glad you came up with this idea and that we went with your idea.
I don't always need credit, but I was just proud of myself for this one.
This was Megan's idea, everybody. Give her a pat on the back because she really wants one.
You don't have to. Well, I maybe want a little pat. Just kidding. Anyway, so thank you, ladies. This was a lot of fun. I had a good time. And if you're all listening, I know we talked about a lot, but please, you know what? You always let us know what we missed in the comments. And I say that with love. You're always like, come on, you forgot this one. And we're like, I know. We can't mention everything, but still let us know your favorite monsters, dramas, both in scary supernatural creature and human form. And yeah, we'll chat then. So
happy Halloween to those that like to celebrate.
Yeah. And if not, just happy October.
Right. Happy end of October.
Happy end of October. All right. We'll see you next week.
Annyeong. Annyeong.
Annyeong.
Kamsahamnida. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!